This is New Home Insights, the John Burns Real Estate Consulting Podcast. I'll be your host, Dean Wehrli. As the title promises, we're going to bring you insights into everything housing, latest trends, innovations, observations, and issues of the day. We'll bring in colleagues here at John Burns and also some major industry players from all across the country. This podcast is going to be quick, fun, but also hopefully make you think. So see you here every couple of weeks. Now let's get to it. Hey, welcome to New Home Insights by John Burns Real Estate Consulting. I'm your host, Dean Wehrli. Today, we have yet another extremely distinguished guest. I don't like to throw around the word hero very often, but maybe it fits here. We have Adrian Foley from Brookfield Residential. How are you doing, Adrian?
I'm good, Dean. Thank you. Thank you for the hero definition. I'm not sure I fit the description at all.
Oh, I think so. Why don't you just give us a brief bio on you?
Okay. My bio would be, I grew up in the United Kingdom. I grew up in London, England. I came to the US in 1990, having met my wife in London. She's from Connecticut. And we moved in 1990, just as the market, I think I got off the plane and the market dropped 30% the following day. It was me. And I started work at a company called Taylor Woodrow relatively shortly after landing here, and a British company. And then in 1996, I think of dates in your life that are pivotal, birthdays, when you met your wife, when you're married, and first child. And my first day at Brookfield was February the 5th, 1996, and it was a day that I won't ever forget, because from there I'm 20, almost. I'm in my 20. Fourth year. I'm actually in my 25th year at Brookfield, so 24th year, at Brookfield. So it's been a phenomenal journey, and I'm incredibly honored to be part of the team. So my role, just finishing my bio, is I help the company run its development business in North America, and keyword being development as opposed to necessarily. You mentioned Brookfield Residential, but singularly land and housing. So we also have a business, a development operation that is working on various other commercial real estate, think mixed-use developments that Brookfield has control or ownership of throughout North America. And the team that we have is working sort of day by day on the land and housing business under the Brookfield Residential flag, and then another team and some people working on both, working on some fairly intense mixed-use developments across the country, producing multifamily residential, producing mixed-use retail, producing mixed-use office, and in future situations, mixed-use hospitality.
Yeah.
So that's the sort of combined organization that would be the development group within Brookfield Properties.
So you're wearing a ton of hats there. So I think what we'll do is we'll talk, kind of go over some lessons learned and some strategies behind running one of the premier home builders in the country. And then we're going to shift to talk about exactly what you just mentioned, kind of this mixed use development and the future of that, given your pretty splashy foray into the mall business last year. So let's start with your brand. Brookfield used to be, Brookfield still builds phenomenal homes, but I remember I was in Southern California a little over a decade ago before I came up here to Northern California. And you really had kind of the premier, maybe you and Taylor Woodrow actually had kind of that premier builder brand in Southern California, particularly, for sure. And you've kind of shifted that strategy both geographically and in terms of product. What was the thinking behind that shift?
I think you're referring to sort of average price points and focused product that was typically coastal based, that was merchant building, targeting luxury, typically luxury, but certainly second move up market buyers. and we just looked at ourselves as we moved through those early years in the company, and frankly, back to the Taylor Woodrow days, the same. Looked at ourselves and said, we're going to be at the whim of these cycles. Every time the stock market, has a cold, we're going to, not see buyers show up at our sales offices, and we've got to widen our skill sets and appeal to multi segments, and frankly start bringing a more affordable, better looking home across the broader marketplace. So we spent a lot of time copying the auto industry sort of models of having a luxury brand line, but also having a more attainable priced product, but with that luxury feel. And so we moved up in density and down in sales price, and sort of looked to sort of reinvent that offering, and it candidly, it worked. We realized that we had good taste and we made good decisions about things, and we cared about the home because we had been trained to, and we realized we could do that whether it was a $300,000 home or whether it was a $2 million home. Homes, hopefully, you when you buy a $300,000 home from Brookfield, it feels like it's more than that, and therefore we're getting a sort of a cachet for that as well. So that was the thesis.
And you kind of needed to, didn't you? If you're going to expand both in volume and geography, you need to be playing in kind of a bigger field, don't you?
That's right. We were heavily coastal, and we knew that the growth markets were really where the volumes were going to be. And candidly, we were making builder margins as opposed to land and builder margins. So if we were going to be investing in land heavily, which Brookfield had done in the past, we knew we needed to bring more affordably priced product in those growth corridors and get into the land business. So we sort of turned the ship from being what we all call kind of a merchant home building model into much more of a land entitlement, land development, home building model that it is today across the 9 markets in the US and the 3 in Canada.
That's a great segue, because I was going to ask you, part of that has been investing in some major master plans, including some areas like Ontario Ranch in the Inland Empire of Southern California, or Eastmark in Phoenix, where you are expanding into different price niches than you were before. And I think you recently also bought Stapleton in Denver, the old airport. I mean, some people say that the master plan is kind of seen as better days. What's your outlook on the master plan community business?
That's probably a 2-day answer.
We have much less than that.
We're much less than that. Yes. So I'll be brief. I could talk for all of those 2 days. Broadly, I would say our view is that few companies do master planning well, and broadly, we would say that as a result, we think master plan community land development can be a phenomenal business because it meets all of the sort of key Brookfield criteria. It involves large amounts of capital. It's complex by its very nature, and as a result of those first two, few choose to participate in it. So typically, you can realize a greater return. What I will say is that for a number of reasons, not least of which absorptions and segments as the market compresses or as prices begin to compress, absorptions slow down, volumes, master plan community volumes drop, and returns drop with them. And unless you've got a very long view on life, you might be better playing other investments in residential real estate to get better returns. At Brookfield, we've got a very long-term view on our investment horizon, and candidly, making moderate returns over long periods of time beat higher returns over short periods of time. The view being that we can compound those returns over time fairly predictably, and that beats the in and out speculative day trader, and I'm
Yeah.
obviously using extreme examples to make the point. But home building, has sort of an easier exit than does the land business. And so to finish that point, there are some markets where it's more challenging than others, would be how I would say it. I think your coastal, high constrained markets, and maybe some inland constrained markets, you really make enough in the good days to get your average return because you get significant land appreciation. The challenge is where you don't get as much appreciation in the good days, and know that there's going to be some tougher days to come. How do you make those returns work? So, it's I would finish my finishing thoughts by saying it's not for the faint of heart. But if you can do it well, you can do really well as an organization. It feeds the housing model really well. We think we're very much more efficient as a result of our land base today. We control somewhere between 80 and 85% of our 5-year business plan today in our land holdings, and we sell as many lots as we build on ourselves. So it can be a very good model.
Do you see it surviving? It's always overstated, but the demise, quote unquote, of the family buyer. I mean, we're all looking at the demographics. There are fewer family households out there. Master plans are traditionally kind of geared towards families. Do you see the demographics still working for you? Is active adult going to be a bigger part of your portfolio?
I think it's we're always looking at which segments are going to work in the future, and there's no doubt the traditional meat of the market single family lot program has really thinned out. So we've looked at the senior market, the active adult market, even the age targeted product lines to supplement those absorptions, and then at the other end of the scale, the single family rental market that really is is being built in the onesie twosies today, or frankly purchased in the onesie twosies today. If we can be thoughtful about a single family rental segment, it can be a great story for our master plan communities and for our customers as well. So yes, it's a different makeup of master planned segments today than it's been historically, which is exciting, but not without its challenges too.
You are the best seguer I've had so far, because my next question was, and you did not know this beforehand, by the way, that you're starting to do some build-to-rent homes I think you're doing them in Phoenix and some master plans there. So what are your thoughts in this burgeoning BFR space? And let's get used to that acronym.
BFR, I know. We think it's a very interesting part of the business, interesting in terms of that notion that I just mentioned, where we really think we can get junior buyers that come into our master plans, especially if it's an early phase opportunity. We think that the single family rental program has matured such that it's its own sort of its own investment vehicle today, and the market understands it. The broader financial market understands it. Operators are doing a great job of operating, fairly well-distributed portfolios of single-family rental. If we can concentrate those homes in our master plans, they can be even more efficient, and we can provide them with a service. We can provide them with finished lots. We can provide them with a vertical solution, should they not have that vertical solution today. So actually, single-family rental products exist in 2 of our master plans today. One in Austin, where we actually built the homes for American Homes for Rent, and one in Phoenix in Eastmark, where we are building for BB Living. We haven't built for BB Living. We sold lots to BB Living, but we've got actually 10 other sites today in various master plans throughout the country, where we're looking heavily at single-family rentals being a segment either distributed within the master plan or standalone.
That's what so, do you see yourself building neighborhood size BFR?
Yes, we have, and yes, we do. And
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't prefer the distributed version. We haven't done
Yeah.
that yet, but I think that it's an interesting discussion. It's there probably should be a ULI a white paper on it, but I wonder if it's not. If it doesn't exist today in our master plans as a distributed offering, then we just don't know it. Because there are single-family rental products
Yeah.
within our homes, within our homeowners today. But as an organized element, if you drove through our community in Austin, I think you would say it's a really nice street scene. It's very clean. It's very orderly. It's a bit can be a bit sterile feeling,
Mm.
as opposed to the slightly more organic mixed palette that you get in a regular neighborhood. So should it be shared streets? Should it be shared with other for sale product? Does it live better that way? Or as a for sale buyer, do I feel better living next to a for sale buyer, even if they do rent, as opposed to necessarily a single family rental product?
There is that perception, but all of our single family rental clients will tell us consistently that the profile, the income and the demographic profile for their folks within a given master plan is uncannily similar to the profile of the for sale folks there.
I believe that. I think the information we had supports that too, that we actually had renters in Austin and in Phoenix who could qualify comfortably for the median home price
Yeah.
within the master plan that they were in, but just chose not to, or they saw it as a lead-in. It's I'm going to live here for 9 months, 12 months, and I'm going to sample the community. So we think we need to be very thoughtful about it and strategic. So we've outlined a series of parcels, as I mentioned. We've been chatting with a few of the single family rental companies, and we think that's a great business for us.
Yeah, I think that bias, that a lot of owners have about renters is going to be quaint in 10 or 20 years. It'll be a thing of the past.
I agree with you.
How about another kind of a buzzy thing right now is smart home initiatives? Brookfield has been out in front of smart home in their homes for sure. What are some of the key smart home features you see that are just absolutely critical now and going forward? And my follow-up is anything surprised you about how you've developed more smart home features and seen how the market has reacted?
Yeah, so just to lay the foundation, we have a smart home, connected home blueprint for Brookfield Residential, and each of every one of our markets has a go forward. 100% of the product is smart home integrated, and we, as you said, we were a bit of a pioneer a couple of 3 years ago in partnerships with Apple and Amazon. And really, at the time we were doing those initiatives, we were doing them somewhat blind. We had a sense of the consumer's value, but it wasn't. There weren't that many data points out there that we could refer to. So if it involved spending an extra $1,000 in kitting out a home with locks, lights, thermostats, we had to go on a hunch that we'd get at least $1,000 back, if not more, and look, I think the jury hasn't really played out on what the consumer will pay for those additional features. I think it's like central locking for your car, or frankly the other which used to be, that's an old one,
Yeah.
or Bluetooth connectivity in your car. You just expect it, and you won't buy that car unless it has it. So I think we're getting to that point where the consumer's telling us that they really place value on the convenience. The second piece is, where does it go from here? And in our view, this is very much rung one in a 10-rung ladder here of growth. We see sensors, we see measuring devices, not dissimilar, candidly, to the auto industry within your home, that give you information as a homeowner on how your home is living, what it's performing to. We see that benefiting us in terms of warrantying your home, to the point where we think we can be more educated on how your home is living and behaving, and therefore what its potential risks are for maintenance and upkeep, and doing some early preventative measures to avoid failure. And by doing that, we think the end product is a longer warranty period, a home that is more maintenance free for a longer period of time, and potentially beyond that, relationships with that customer to maintain their home for we like to say customer for life, but really home for life. So and such that when you come to sell your home, you would hopefully have kind of a data record or a house facts information a document that you could hand to your subsequent buyer. Maybe even have Brookfield come in and recertify that home and give the new buyer a certified home warranty premium that will enable you to sell the home faster and maybe for $1 or $2 more. So I think technology plays a massive part in that journey.
Do you think it'll be builder-led in terms of what defines a quote-unquote smart home, or will it be something like a Google or an Amazon or something like that that's sort of really shaping it?
I think that's a great question. I'm paranoid that it's not Google and Amazon and Apple, only because I think if they got into the housing business, that might be a nightmare for all of us. But
well, guess what?
Yes, yes, I know.
They probably will.
They probably will. So we've got to stay one step ahead of that. But I think it's probably builder driven right now, because operationally we're capable. We are capable of servicing your home. We are capable of providing you with that education, that information. And I think it's a compelling enough story for the consumer that will do that. So I think we'll be leading it. Whether or not somebody in some office in Seattle or
Mountain View
is rethinking it right now or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be builder led.
I do think that you're right, though, is that I think smart features generally are just going to be done to stay competitive, as opposed to sort of wowing or setting yourself apart, because folks just come to expect them almost immediately. What was amazing turns normal overnight, it seems.
That's right. That's right.
Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about the future of mixed use, because you guys will be at the forefront of that. So last year, you guys, Brookfield, completed the $15 billion deal, if I have that right, to acquire what you did not already own of, I think, the second largest mall owner in the country, in the United States, which is GGP. Give us first a little bit of background on those GGP assets that you folks control now.
So this is obviously the broader Brookfield organization. Yes. So Brookfield Properties had at the time a 35% ownership position in General Growth, and elected to offer to purchase the balance of the company, and for a number of reasons, not just the development side of the business, but for a number of reasons that are very public. That Brian Kingston, the CEO, will explain very, very clearly, much more clearly than I'm going to do here. But the sort of tag along piece to the acquisition was the opportunity to reposition some of the real estate. So about a year and a half prior, Brookfield purchased the balance of a company called Rouse, Rouse. Properties, which was taken private and had roughly 37 retail assets, retail land positions. We avoid the word mall because it seems to have negative connotations nowadays. So we're calling it wonderful retail opportunities. And then in August of last year, closed on the balance of 125 retail assets that General Growth had. So you add those two together, we had 162 retail opportunities. And we set about the sort of mid part of last year through the through all the way through the end of last year in analyzing those 162 alongside the general growth team that have been fantastic to work with. We situated ourselves in Chicago and kind of sat through and looked through any of the candidate development opportunities that we could identify, and we sort of broke them up into 4 buckets of tiers, like sort of near term, medium term, and longer term buckets, and set about working on what is the first 12 today. And actually, we identified close to 35 opportunity assets. So ballpark 20%, 20 odd percent of the total pipeline, and we set about the first 12 and dug in and have everything from phases of multifamily being attached to existing retail in Atlanta to repositioned towers or repositioning new tower developments in Hawaii to the potential redevelopment of our San Francisco mall through a re-entitlement process, all of which have to get played out over time. But the view being that the 150 million or so square feet of retail that's on somewhere in the order of 400 to 500 million square feet of land will get repositioned over time to be some other mix of uses in addition to retail.
So that's the general idea. Is that what you're going to do? And please correct me. Is at least in this first tier, and in many of these retail centers, these mall-like retail centers, you will go in and turn them into mixed-use communities. Maybe utilize some of that unnecessary parking. Is that kind of the core strategy?
That's right. So if you looked at it today, a combination of underutilized land, i.e., land that has higher generating land residual uses that could be placed on it. So replacing use A for use B, whether it's retail or office or whatever it is today, and the second, which is your point, which is when we analyze our parking ratios today, driving different parking ratio analyses for our tenants, or repositioning parking to go from being horizontal to vertical, so putting it in structures and freeing up real estate, and then really redefining that piece of real estate as a vibrant multi-use property. And if you think about it, it's not dissimilar to a master plan in that respect. And while the traditional Brookfield master plan would have been predominantly residential, we have a number of master plans throughout the country. Playa Vista is one that brings to mind. We have one in Calgary called Seton, where we have 3 million square feet of office. We have 400,000 square feet of retail. We have multifamily. We have senior housing. We have for sale. We have affordable housing, all jigsawed together, designed to be, synergistic in its uses, in how one feeds off the other. It's really that in a retail setting that today maybe only has retail as its single use. So, when you think about where people want to live, they want to live close to places of energy, close to places of entertainment, frankly, close to places where they can work, where they can shop, where they can live. So it's just a phenomenal opportunity.
So really, it's kind of turning the mixed use community into a place where they can live, work, play. Almost writ small. In other words, you think of those areas as like the downtown of a given city or something like that. You're really going to do that in a single community.
That's right. We're gonna pick the sort of Main Street version and then build out around it. And the retail itself in a lot of these assets is phenomenal retail. So when you supplement the retail with people who live around it, or in the case of medical office people who can work around it, senior housing, There's obviously some affordable housing components. You bring energy, people, compression, compaction to that space. It gets really vibrant and candidly complements the retail again. So we can bring potentially new retail to that space that wouldn't perhaps have been there before. So Sandeep Mathrani, who's the CEO of Brookfield Retail, talks about the halo effect, and there really will be sort of a halo effect on the existing retail today, which will serve two purposes: bring life to the existing tenants, but also potentially bring new tenants that may not have been in that space previously.
Yeah, synergy is one of those buzzwords that gets grossly overused, but in this case, it actually fits.
It does. It's phenomenal synergy. So it's very exciting. It's not without its challenges, as you can well imagine.
That's three now, Adrian. That's three times you've set me up. So I'm reading it right now. What are the challenges to being able to realize this strategy?
So they probably list in this order: political, local politics. So most of the real estate needs to be re-entitled. The current zoning land uses may or may not permit the additional uses to be brought into bear. So there's been a tendency for cities to lean heavily on their sales tax revenue for their general funds. Hence, there's a resistance to seeing that go away. We're mainly making the argument that it doesn't go away. It's actually building a bit of a fortress around that story, but it does involve some additional intensification. So that comes with its challenges. The second is our partner tenants, making sure that they're comfortable, that they can still run their businesses, they can still be successful within the retail assets themselves, and to the extent we need their permission, making sure that we're fair as to how they are treated, and that's playing out. Most of the tenants are very happy with the additional investment. Yeah. And then the third is just making sure that we're 1 + 1 = 3, as opposed to 1 + 1 = 1.5. Yeah. So we've got to make sure we're thoughtful as to how we bring about the repositioning of the asset, and be really, as I said, careful that we're not disrupting the retail flows, and that actually when you take a step back and you add up 1 + 1, that it does equal 3.
So, I mean, that's actually a good point. Some people see retail as kind of a sinking sector. You're clearly in the retail game, and you remain there. I mean, so we have Amazon, we have all the other online retailers. You believe in retail, though? Does it have to be in the right place? Does it have to be the right set of circumstances?
I have my own views, and they're very unvarnished, unsophisticated. So I would respect the views of Sandeep and Brian Kingston and guys who are in the retail business much more so than myself. But my view, and it's really, frankly, it's a little bit educated by conversations with them, that good retail is good retail. It's not changing. The transitional retail, or retail that requires sort of reinventing, is where the opportunity lies. And I think we'll do a great job of helping good retail be great retail. And our challenge, our opportunity, if you like, is to help the retail that might, left to its current path, turn from good retail to medium retail or average retail, and turn that good retail into great retail. And that's going to be a careful process. We do think there's a lot of disruption out there, and we've got to be mindful of how that disruption plays out. But this is just great real estate. This is real estate that sits in the middle of grown-up, mature communities. It's typically, and if you go back and look at these retail assets, they're predominantly the sort of 60s vintage. They sit on upwards of 90 to 100 acres of real estate. It isn't like you're dealing with a 10-acre canvas. You've got a phenomenal opportunity over time, And if time is not your enemy, if time is your friend, you can make really thoughtful decisions over that time. I think the challenge as a public company is for the former GGP organization is maybe time wasn't always their friend, and therefore you can tend to make some decisions that don't benefit the long run. I think the beauty of our organization is that, as I said earlier, we've got a long-term horizon mindset, and we know that over time these pieces of real estate will get repositioned to great value for our shareholders, and it's just not making short-term decisions and really making thoughtful long-term ones.
Well, that shows in the sort of biteable chunk of 12 of these retail centers in the near future. Whereas, I mean, someone else in a public might say, you got to do something with these 162 right away, but you guys don't need to do that.
No, exactly. We're taking it one step at a time, and the 12 we picked are the high performing retail, where we're adding great retail and making it phenomenal retail.
That's 4, by the way. That was my sort of segue to my own question. Was there sort of the main criteria for picking these 12 is that they're high performing retail centers? These first 12.
It was actually, think about it this way, and I'm using my arms here that you won't be able to see, but if retail value is on the vertical axis and land value is on the horizontal axis, it would be assets where, generally speaking, high retail supports high land value. So where we can supplement those high land values with other uses that support additional value to that asset, that was our focus. Now, we also worked on some assets that retail value wasn't supporting the highest land value. There was other uses in that market, so we've grouped that second tier to that first tier, and that's the focused asset pool. There are a number that are in the third tier, which are lower retail values today for higher land values, but we're just trying to do it in that progressive order to give ourselves the best chance of success.
Kind of, this is going real general here, but do you see any big sweeping changes coming to the home building industry in the next, say 10 years or so?
Gosh, that's a great question. I think we feel that the residential industry has been fairly well protected from disruption, absent, maybe sharing your home or your third bedroom with somebody who wants to come in and rent it a few nights a month. So we think that the industry has sort of avoided a massive disruption, but that doesn't mean to say that it will. We think that the advent of technology in real estate, residential real estate, will bring about changes across the spectrum. We think about it as the selling and buying process, and we think that, and none of this is going to be news to many of our listeners. But we think that there's a disruption in the buying and selling process. We think how you buy a home in pick a period, 1 year, 3 year, 5 years time will be very different than it is today. We think how you buy a new home will be very different than it is today. We think how you sell your home will be very different. We think how you choose to rent or how you share expenses for living is an opportunity for disruption. So today we think about it as there's two choices. You can for rent or you can for sale. And we're not so sure that there's not a for something else. And it's really exciting to think about the role that technology plays in that respect, and how that might accelerate some of that disruption. So we think about our industry being us needing to be very nimble looking forward here and being very thoughtful about where we're placing our bets so that we don't find ourselves as the yellow taxi company of the future.
Yeah, exactly. The thing that is certain is that it's going to happen quickly and often with seemingly no ability to predict it whatsoever.
That's right, and I think a population shift here where we have the millennial buyer coming into the home purchase environment may be one of the huge levers to accelerate that disruption.
Because they're more open to
exactly.
Okay.
And frankly, they're braver than the most about those changes. And some of the boomer population may be a little more resistant, although there are plenty that I think will get it once they realize how much it might save them. But I think that home buying or even home living, just home sharing, home living consumer today, the person who's considering moving out of their parents' home, whether it's rental or home buying, are just better prepared for that disruption and will embrace it, especially where they see value in it in their own lives and where they see it as being more convenient, more frankly, more transparent. We have a process today that isn't transparent at all. And the Zillows of the world have done a phenomenal job of shining a torch on that transparency for the resale market. The new home market still has these antiquated habits of hiding information, and that's going to change. And frankly, the buying process will ask for that to change. So that's going to be very exciting.
Yeah, because it's not like the resale market wanted to change. It was forced to.
Far from it.
Well, Adrian, this has been phenomenal. I really appreciate your time and all your insights. Thank you so much.
You too, Dean. I've loved it, and thanks. Do I get to keep this microphone, by the way?
You absolutely get to keep that microphone.
It's phenomenal. It looks like a retro 1950s microphone. I look like an absolute nincompoop.
I keep on telling John we need to brand the microphone so you have our JBrick logo there in front. But yeah, it's yours with our compliments for sure.
Really fun. Thanks for the chat. I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Okay, thanks. Until next time, folks, we will see you next time.